In this first section of Chapter 2, we're going to be looking at the 2008 Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans. The guidelines, which are also known as the PAG, provide a science-based guidance for Americans age 6 and older, and it helps them improve their health through the inclusion of appropriate physical activity. These guidelines work to complement the established dietary guidelines for Americans. Now, the first edition of these guidelines was released in 2008, and 5 years later, a mid-course report was published that focused on efforts to increase physical activity for American youth. The full second edition of the guidelines is currently in development and is scheduled to be released in late 2018. So the first question we really want to look at is, why do we need guidelines? We know that physical activity is a lifestyle choice that can help provide a positive effect on our health. The main idea behind the guidelines is that regular physical activity over months and years can, in turn, produce long-term effects. In order to enjoy these benefits, you must engage in weekly physical activity. Let's take a little bit of time to look at the framework of the guidelines. There are various elements that help construct the framework of this set of guidelines. Let's take a closer look at some of these elements. Baseline activity versus health-enhancing physical activity. The term baseline activity refers to a light intensity activity of daily life. This includes things like standing, walking slowly, and lifting lightweight objects. If these types of activities make up the only type of physical activity you get in a day, then you're considered to be inactive. Health-enhancing physical activity benefit is activity that, when added to the baseline activity, produces healthy benefits. The additional activities could include things like brisk walking, jumping rope, lifting weights, and many other examples of intense activity. If you're wondering why Americans should increase their baseline activity, you can find the reasons in the following ways. Increasing baseline activity burns calories, and weight-bearing activities can improve bone health. We can also find social and environmental benefits. For example, if more people began walking short distances instead of driving, we might be able to help reduce traffic congestion and air pollution. Encouraging the increase of baseline activity will also help build a culture where physical activity will begin to be the accepted norm, the accepted social norm. Let's watch a short video that outlines 20 health benefits that can be gained from exercise. So as you can see, there are a number of very important things that we can gain from participating in a regular exercise program. Let's look at the health benefits versus some other reasons to be active. The health benefits that are gained through physical activity are not the only reason people should be active. Physical activity gives people a chance to have fun, to be with friends, and to improve their appearance. We also can see a focus on disease prevention. The guidelines also help us lower the risk of developing chronic diseases like heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Let's watch a short video that talks about some of the new studies on exercise and diabetes.
First, though, we've got that new health headline about diabetes and exercise and why when you work out really matters. ABC's chief health and medical editor, Dr. Richard Besser, joining us now with that. And let's say right up, we're talking about type 2 diabetes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And you got nearly 10% of Americans have this, and 1 in 3 are sort of so-called pre-diabetic. So that's a lot of people right there. How much exercise do people need to reduce this risk?
Well, so this is really interesting. They looked at 28 studies that followed thousands of people over many years to try and address that. And what they found was if you do the 30 minutes 5 times a week, which is recommended, it greatly reduces the amount, your risk of getting type 2 diabetes. If you do more than that, your risk goes down even further. But what really grabbed me was that if you do less, if you do only 10 minutes a day, you get some benefit compared to those people who do nothing. So every bit helps. You shouldn't be put off by the fact that I don't have enough time.
Right, but more is more. And timing was also very important in this study, correct?
Yeah. So a separate study looked at people who had type 2 diabetes and said, okay, you've got your 30 minutes to do. Do you do it as one block or do you break it up? And so they had people for one period of time do it in one block of 30 minutes. And the other period of time, they did 10 minutes right after eating a meal. And what they found was if you do the 10 minutes, just go for a 10-minute walk after you eat your meal, it greatly reduces your blood sugar. 22% lower blood sugar after dinner with just a 10-minute walk.
So that's the science behind old common sense.
Yeah,
exactly.
But is that just because your engines, so to speak, are working, that you're processing
Well,
food better?
it was always like, oh yeah, walking helps you digest. But, our blood sugar is controlled by a hormone called insulin. And when you exercise, it helps our cells use the insulin. It also causes our muscles to burn up that sugar. So, there's good reasons for why that balances out your sugar, and it's a great thing to do.
So in addition to exercise, what else can people do?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. If you can maintain a healthy weight, or if you're overweight, losing just 5% of your body weight, that's enough to dramatically reduce your risk of having type 2 diabetes. It's hard to do, but it's really worth that effort.
All of it doable, too.
It
even
is.
Even a little bit of exercise, even a little bit of weight.
Yeah, and getting a partner for both of those is a great way to get started. It really helps your chances of succeeding.
Good information.
Richard Besser, thanks very much.
Isn't it amazing that you can lower your blood sugar 22% by simply adding a 10-minute walk after eating? And there were a lot of other good suggestions in that video as well. It's important to remember that the guidelines were not put in place to improve performance-related fitness. Athletes need this kind of fitness when they compete, and therefore athletes need to seek advice from other sources. We're talking about the general population here. The best way to be active is to be active for life. Therefore, the guidelines have been developed to take a lifespan approach and provide recommendations for 3 age groups: children and adolescents, adults, and older adults. Now, the guidelines also provide us with a basis for determining what category we fit into regarding how much physical activity we get each week. These categories are referred to as inactive, low, medium, and high. And there's a table in this section of the textbook that outlines each of these levels. You will see that your goal for physical activity should be at least 150 minutes per week. Anything less than 150 minutes is considered to be low activity or inactive. Now, originally, it was believed that one should accumulate at least 30 minutes a day of moderate intensity on most days of the week. Most of the days of the week was defined as 5 days. This guideline was modified in the 2008 guidelines to state that individuals should accumulate 150 minutes a week of physical activity in various ways. So that has changed a little bit from our original train of thought. So how can you put the guidelines into practice? Well, in order to ensure that you're following the guidelines as written, you should be sure that your physical activity program is consistent with the guidelines. To help you meet the guidelines, you should join a class at a wellness center. You can utilize the local mall to walk. You can also include activities like stretching, warm-ups, and cool-downs. And it's important to remember that including physical activity into your daily and weekly routine can lead to health benefits. These potential health benefits will be looked at in more detail in the next section.